Hi, welcome back. In this video we'll be styling an Orchard.NET tenant using an empty .NET theme and the theme override module. Now first you need to enable the empty .NET theme. After enabling the empty .NET theme, you need to enable the theme override module. Now what is an empty .NET theme? An empty .NET theme is a theme which provides a layout shape with no styling. Now what is a layout shape? Now every theme in Orchard provides a default markup or a default structure or a master page for every page for an Orchard website. Now this is how the default layout or a default structure or default markup of an Orchard website looks like. First it starts with a div tag with an ID of layout wrapper, and then we have layout header, layout navigation, and layout before main, layout main container, layout main, then layout content, and inside the layout content we have the messages, the before content, the actual content, the after content, and then many other things like the triple first, the layout footer, and this is how a default markup of every Orchard website looks like. And after enabling the empty .NET theme, you need to enable the theme override module. And after enabling the theme override module, you'll have a tab called as theme override settings. Now from this tab you can override style sheets, or you can point URLs or style sheets, and you can have scripts, you can even override placements, and even have a favicon URL. Now next we need to upload .css files to Dropbox. First is the reset.css file. Now this file resets the styling of all HTML elements to a consistent baseline. Now every browser has a default styling for every HTML tag, and for every browser the styling of the website without any style will be different. Now to have a consistent look on all the browsers, you need to use the reset.css file. To know more, you can just go to Google and search for normalize.css. Now let's go to Dropbox and let's copy the public URL for the reset.css file. Now let's come to the theme override settings and open the styles, and let's paste this reset.css URL and let's click save. Now after we save this, the combinator module on .NET will bundle that reset.css file. Let's click refresh and we should see a little amount of change with the styling of the .NET tenant. Let's click refresh. Yes, let's click on page view source, and here is the CSS file. Let's click on it and we can see this is a bundled resource, and this is the actual URL. So the combinator module has taken the styling from the reset.css file and bundled it into a single CSS style. Now next we have the structure.css. So this is useful for giving a structure to the Orchard default markup. The structure.css file is basically used to give paddings and margins to the actual layout of an Orchard website. Now let's look at the ID, that is layout wrapper, has a default padding left 15 pixels and padding right 15 pixels, and some margins left and right. Similarly, you can give some margins and paddings to different IDs, that is the layout header, the header, navigation, layout featured, and layout before main, the layout container, the layout main container, and footers and triple first, and some media queries for the same. Now in order to know these IDs, you can just go to the theme machine theme inside an Orchard website, and then go to the layout.cshtml file and then you can know all these IDs starting from the layout wrapper and the layout header, the layout navigation, and so on. Now let's go to Dropbox and let's copy the public URL for the structure.css file. Now let's come back to the theme override settings and let's reference the structure.css file and click save. Now we should have a different structure for this tenant. Let's click refresh and we have the structure.css file in place. Let's look at this styling file, and here is the structure.css file in the bundle. The next thing is journal.css file. The journal.css file is basically used for giving styles for tables, headings like h1, h2, h3 till h6, forms and buttons, and many other things. Now let's go to Dropbox and copy the public URL for journal.css. Now let's come back to the settings area and let's reference the journal.css file and click save. And let's click refresh and we should have some good styling. The color of the h1 tag, that is the header or the name of the website, is changed to blue. Now after this is the navigation.css file giving structure to the navigation markup. The navigation, that is the menu widget, is inside a zone called as the navigation zone. Now let's look at the markup for the navigation zone as well as the menu widget. Now this is how the markup for the menu widget looks like. First we have a zone with a class of zone and zone navigation, and then inside that we have the widget, that is the widget menu, and inside that we have the actual menu, that is the UL tag with li tags. So inside the zone navigation we have widget menu widget, and then we have a nav tag. Inside the nav tag we have the UL tag with a class of menu. Now in order to access the UL as well as the li tag or style the UL or the li tag, you can access them with the CSS class widget menu widget dot menu, and then widget menu widget dot menu li, and you can style and go on the anchor tag and the hover and the focus, disable li tags, and so on. Now this is how you can style the menu widget. Let's go back to Dropbox and let's copy the public URL for the navigation.css file, and let's come back to the settings, override settings area, and reference the navigation.css file, and let's come back to the front end of the website. Let's this thing get posted back to .NEST. It's posting, and let's try and visit the front end of the website, and the navigation has changed. It's blue in color. So this is how you can style the menu widget for an Orchard website on .NEST. After navigation we have breadcrumbs.css file. This is used for giving styles to the breadcrumbs. Let's come back to the .NEST website. Let's go to the dashboard area and widgets area, and let's add a breadcrumb. Now a breadcrumb is a menu widget as a breadcrumb. Let's give a title, breadcrumbs, and scroll down and then display this menu widget as a breadcrumb. Second option is add the home page as the first element, add the current content item as the last element, and click save. Now let's come back to the main page, and here is the breadcrumb with a bullet. Now let's go to the Dropbox and copy the breadcrumb.css file public link, and let's come back to the theme override settings and reference the breadcrumbs.css file. Now a breadcrumb is also a menu widget with a breadcrumb CSS class, and in order to style that, you can just create a CSS class of breadcrumbs and then style it. Now let's come back to the website and refresh, and this bullet style for the UL and the li tag should go away. Refresh, and that's gone. Now let's click on the about page, and here is the breadcrumb. Now after breadcrumb we have the placement.info file, and in the same way like we have overridden .css file, you can even include or override script files. Now let's look at the placement.info file. Now let's try to remove this part, that is the metadata part for every page that is coming from the common part. Now let's go to the placement file and let's copy this place, which will not render the metadata that is coming from the common part. Now in order to override that, you can just go to the theme override settings area and open placement and then put this thing here. And you don't need to have the placement tag, that is the root tag for placements, because that is done by DotNest, and click save. Now let's come back to the website and refresh, and this part, that is the metadata part coming from the common part, which shows when the page was published and the date and the time, and refresh, and this part should go away for the whole website. Now this is how you can override placements for your .NET tenant. Thank you.